Good morning, folks. Welcome to another virtual discovery walk with Montana Outdoor Science School and the Gallatin Valley Land Trust. Every year, these two organizations get together and in the springtime host a walk that families can attend. And on these walks, a Moss instructor will guide the walk, talk about everything that's going on in nature, talk about new fun facts, new knowledge things, and there's always a lesson accompanied with these walks. This week, our theme is Macro Mayhem, which stands essentially for finding macroinvertebrates. Macroinvertebrates are things that you might see in the water, little tiny insects that are crawling around on the logs, crawling around on the rocks. But let's break that word down a little bit before we get going too far. A macroinvertebrate is a creature that is large enough to be able to see with your eye and doesn't possess a backbone. Macro is the opposite of micro. You can imagine things like microscope are used to view things that are too tiny to see with your naked eye. And then the word invertebrate is something without a backbone. So these are things like insects, arthropods, crustaceans, a lot of creatures without any kind of bone in their body end up being invertebrates. So we're looking essentially for lots and lots of bugs today. And we're looking very specifically for the larvae of a lot of insects that are common in Montana. Macroinvertebrates are really cool. They can actually help you distinguish if a river is healthy or not. Some macroinvertebrates are really sensitive to pollution and won't be present in some rivers if the concentrations of pollutions or pollutants are too high. So if you are able to find lots and lots of bugs, lots of macroinvertebrates in a river, this means that your river that you're looking at is probably pretty healthy. Every macroinvertebrate's a little bit different as far as their sensitivities to how clean a river is. So it all just depends on what you're looking at. I did a little test run by the river already. I picked up a rock just to see if I could find anything there, and the rock that I pulled out had tons of macroinvertebrates. I'm gonna show y'all what I found so far. So coming up here to my stuff, I picked out a rock, and check out all the fun little creatures that I have already found. So we've got this big in here. He actually scared me so bad I almost dropped my rock. And then all these little guys, I had to kind of peer much closer at the rock because I didn't see a lot of them. They camouflaged in so well. Here's what I want everyone to really get to see. This little rock case here is the casing of a caddisfly. Caddisflies are little larvae that live inside this case, and they use these enclosures to help protect themselves further so that they can just live on rocks, catch food, sit in the water. This just adds that one more bit of protection. These guys here lay really flat on rocks, and this one, well, he's just really big, isn't he? This is after just pulling out one rock from the river, so I'm gonna go back and now try to find another rock here. This is the Bridger Creek. It's on the north end of town. Really easy, really accessible. But you can take this walk really anywhere with you that you have access to a river source. See what kinds of bugs are present, see what kinds of macroinvertebrates you might find. I'm gonna go down yonder and see what else I might be able to get out of this here stream. My tools include a fishing net as well. I also have that ice cube tray that you were able to see. I also have brought with me a sort of key so that I will be able to identify some of these creatures afterward. And that's part of today's lessons. We're gonna go over what a dichotomous key is and talk about how you can use one to help you identify unknown animals or creatures or plants that you might see in the world. So I did manage to find a few more macroinvertebrates, including some caddisflies that have a different shape to their casing, which is pretty neat. So these little critters here, that one's a new one that I don't know. This one here, I think this is a big version of these guys here. This one I've still got here too, and I'm mostly certain what he is, but to be sure of what I've got here, I'm gonna use a dichotomous key. In the case of my dichotomous key, the questions are going to be dealing with parts of insects. So we have the three parts of an insect: the head, the thorax, the abdomen. And essentially, I'm just going to go through here and see what I've got by answering questions to myself. And it's really simple to follow along. I'll use the first one as an example. If I look, for example, at our first one here, he's super big. Look at him. Does he have segmented legs or does he have no segmented legs? And we can think of that essentially as, does he have legs or no legs in this case? And then If he does have legs, tells us where to go. We go to number 2, and we just follow along to the next one. Does he have 6 legs, or does he have more than 6 legs? He definitely has 6 legs. So from there, we're going to go to number 3. No wings, or wings not fully developed and do not cover entire body. Go to 4, or wings cover entire body but not legs, may appear beetle-like. I'm gonna go with this top answer here, A, so we're gonna go to 4. A body longer than it is wide, definitely. But let's look at the other part of that too, because maybe it's the second option as well. Body is oval and flat, head and legs concealed beneath the body. Nope, we're gonna go to number 5. 2 or 3 distinct hair-like tails. Ooh, let's look at the tails. So the tails are those things that are coming off that abdomen there. He's definitely got 2 distinct tails that come right off. So 2 or 3 distinct tails, go to 6. 2 or 3 plate-like or hair-like gills along sides of abdomen. So he could either be that, or 2 tails may have hairy gills under the thorax. So this may require us to look really closely at him. Looking at him, yeah, do you see those fuzzy little things right behind his legs here? Those are his gills, and those allow him to breathe. And so they are really close to his thorax, the middle section of his body, which makes him a stonefly larva. And check it out, that is totally what he looks like. Now, he does have gills, which means he needs to breathe water, and even though he is in water, he needs moving water. So I'm gonna keep the other ones since I've had them for a short time, but I am gonna go place him back into the water. Make sure when you take your critters out, you are putting them back fairly quickly. You don't want to be holding on to them any longer than, say, 10 minutes. You want to make sure that they are good to go to live another day and continue their life cycle. So I've got that little stonefly put back into the river. I'm gonna go through and find out what the rest of these macroinvertebrates are using my Dichomous Key and let y'all see my process as I go through it. So that one was kind of hard, but I believe what I found was a caddisfly larva without his case, which is pretty cool. Let's also look at the ones with their cases. Every Montana fisherman will know about caddisflies, of course, and will often know about all these other macroinvertebrates that we've got in here. I've got one more that I'm curious about, these little guys. I want to say they're mayflies, but let me use my Dichomous Key to double check. Ooh. Can y'all see his gills moving? Oh, that's him breathing. Look at them. They're moving in and out. That's amazing. Definitely a mayfly larva. I want to get these back to the water as quickly as I can now that I've identified them. I don't want to make them uncomfortable longer than they have to, and I also want to be sure that I'm putting them back where I found them. I shouldn't be transferring them between streams or rivers or anything. The same should go for you. Thanks, everybody! Not only are macroinvertebrates a very good tool for people to use to be able to tell the condition of a river and as far as its cleanliness goes, they're also really important for any ecosystem that relies upon them for food. These ones that we just saw are just the larval stages. Any of the adult stages are also a source of food for creatures such as birds, fish, amphibians, reptiles, or all sorts of things may be eating these animals. It's not just insects either. We may find snails as macroinvertebrates, leeches, worms, all kinds of other invertebrates that you can find in the water may be something that are important to an ecosystem that something may be eating later. As a last little tidbit, the Dichomous Key that I was using is a little bit more advanced, but there are tons of Dichomous Keys available online that can be kid specific. It's easy to find, they're easy to use, and they're really fun to use. It's a really great tool to learn how to identify various animals, plants, things in nature that you're unsure about. Remember that you can take this kind of information and apply it to any of your own trails or walks that you go on, any river source that you can find. Check out what kinds of macroinvertebrates are near you. Once again, thanks for joining us for our virtual discovery walks this season. We wish we could have done these in person, but because of COVID-19, we weren't quite able to. But we appreciate you watching and checking out what we have to offer here with Moss and GVLT. Thanks again.